Military during World War II. What were you doing prior to World War II? Were you...
Well, I just graduated from high school. I had gotten my notice maybe 3-4 months before my birthday in December, and they let us finish our high school. But at the end of I think it was on August 5th that I was inducted into the service, and from there on, well, I went to different camp.
What was it, Camp Devens?
Fort Devens, yeah.
No, this was back in, you were drafted?
Yeah.
Okay. And this was back in August of 1943?
Right.
Okay. And you grew up in Waterbury, Connecticut?
Waterbury, yeah.
Born and raised there?
Yeah. Well, I was born in Canada. I came to the States. I was 6 months old, so.
Oh, okay. So
and my parents came here then, and I've lived here all my life practically, except for 6 months in Canada.
Let me just touch on your background a little bit. Your family, your father's name?
Antonio.
Antonio.
Yeah.
LaPerriere, and your mom's name?
Roland LaPerriere.
Okay. What was her maiden name?
Pellerin.
And they're both from Canada?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any brothers or sisters?
Well, I have my brother, and I have 2 sisters.
Okay. What are their names?
Well, there's Madeline that's still living, and Susan still living,
Okay.
and my brother Jay still living, and myself, out of 11 children. So,
Okay.
came from a big family.
And were any of your siblings in the military?
My brother Jay.
And is
I
he
call him Jay. It's Gene, actually, but
and he's still with us?
he's still with us. Okay. He's 89 years old. And he resides at the assisted living East Gate in Waterbury. And he's doing pretty good.
And is he older or younger than you?
He's 22 months older than I am.
Okay. And I see that your date of birth here is 12/27/1924?
Right.
Okay.
Me 88 in December.
Okay. And how old were you when you got drafted?
Well, I was 17, but they were sending out the notices early before your birthday, and I did get it in December, but they postponed it till I graduated in June, and then in August 4th or 4th, we went to Camp Devens.
And your parents had to sign for you to go in? Because you were still 17, right?
Well, no, I was 18 then.
Oh, 18 at that time.
See, I didn't turn 18 till December, but I did get the notice before I went into service.
Okay.
I think they used to send them a few months before you went into service then.
And you left Waterbury, Connecticut, and ended up going up to Fort Devens, which was Camp Devens at the time.
Camp Devens.
And
then from there I went to basic training at Fort Ethan Allen's in Vermont, in Winooski, Vermont. That's just north of Burlington, Vermont.
And they had a camp up there for basic training?
Camp. Yeah, it's small, but beautiful camp.
You been up there lately, or
no? I did go. Maybe 15, 20 years later. I don't know. I think I went to visit one of my sisters. I had one sister that lived in Canada. She got married and she never came to the States with my parents. She was older, and it's the only time I went through there. But I never stopped. I don't know why, but I didn't even know if it was still open then.
I figured you stopped just for nostalgia. But
I was thinking about it, but I was with my 2 brothers, and we went to visit my sister.
Now, when you went up to Camp Devens,
yeah,
and then you went over to Vermont to do your basic training, what was it like going through basic training at your age, at a young age? And
well, I guess it was like any other camp in the country. You know, you went through the whole bit. It was hard, you know, but they conditioned you. You know, you had to do your calisthenics and your I forget what they call these.
But it was a life-changing experience
Of course,
that
yeah.
probably made you grow up overnight.
You grow up fast. Yeah. They discipline you, and they have to.
And there's no mom and dad there to take care of you.
To take care of you. You know.
So you gotta stick together and work together.
Yeah. But you got through it. And it was quite an experience.
Yeah. And how was it after you left Vermont? Where did you go after that?
I think I went to back to Devon's, and from there I went to Camp Edwards on Cape Cod, and there they put us in the military, in the what you were.
Oh, the military police.
Military police, and then we guarded the prisoner guys that went on furlough. Didn't want to go overseas. We call them the puddle jumpers, and they would bring them to Camp Edwards, and we would guard them. And
these were American soldiers that refused to.
On several occasions, I had to take me and my buddy. We had to take two soldiers to New York City, and I forget the name of the camp up there.
Oh, the Camp Drum?
Yes,
that Camp Drum up in Watertown, New York? Okay, Roland, we're talking about you serving as an MP up at
Camp Edwards.
Camp Edwards on the Cape.
Kind of Cape.
And working as an MP guarding prisoners, which were
transferred, which were to be transferred to Long Island.
Okay, these were American GIs that didn't want to be in the service, went AWOL or whatever, that were picked up by
military
police. Now, you indicated that you took some to New York. It's all right. Don't worry about the base. But let's go from that point.
Well, from New York, we brought them to Pennsylvania Station, and then we were met from more military policemen from Long Island, and they took over. And they took the prisoners. Well, we went to the camp too, and then we came back to Camp Edwards. But that was our duty then.
How long did you stay at Camp Edwards?
I would say no more than 3-4 months.
Now, were there prisoners from Germany? I heard that.
No, this was just American soldiers, okay. And that was our duty. And after that,
after you left Devon's, after
I left Devon, Camp Edwards, I was sent to New York City.
Now we're talking about what year?
No, this was 1943, I think.
Okay.
Or the beginning of 44. It might have been 44, beginning of 44, somewhere.
Okay.
And then they put us in the postal department. And funny thing happened, out of the millions of letters that were there, then I come across one from my mother, which was she was mailing it to my brother in the European Theater of Operation. I didn't read it, but I said, "Oh my God, this is from my mom sending the letter to my brother." Out of the thousands and thousands of letters that were going out, this was.
You came across.
I mean, how would you find that?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Find that. Yeah.
Maybe it was just a sign.
Yeah.
But so that you were working for the government. You weren't editing any of these letters.
Oh no, they're just sorting them out. Whatever. It was just hundreds of guys there in this station where the mail was being assorted.
Now, how long were you doing that job for?
Oh, not long. Maybe a month.
And then from that point, what happened?
And then we went back to camp Fort Devens, waiting for our assignment, and then we were sent to.
Roland, I'm amazed that you kept this diary
Yeah,
the time that you were in the military, and that's what he's referring to. Just for the record, and it's amazing. And I know that you're referring back to it. And that's fine. If you don't remember, that's no problem.
Well, I can't remember all the details.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a copy of that. I'm going to copy that, and I'll get it back to you, and we'll make it part of this package here for you.
All right.
And people can see that that look into the archives of your history during this Veterans History Project.
The history of the mailing that I found a letter from my mother. I mean, I didn't put that in here, but I remember that was one of the things that really was amazing. I said, out of the thousands and thousands of letters, you would find a letter from your mother being sent to her son in Europe.
Oh, it's amazing, I mean, amazing that, and this is stuff that,
not something I was looking for.
Maybe you didn't write down.
No.
But this is what this project's all about, to get your history. Some things are going to come back to you, some things you're not going to remember, and then some things you're going to be thinking about tomorrow, that, I should have said this. But
I remember another incident that's not in here. It was kind of crazy. We just got to New York City, and we were put into this hotel. And I think it was the next morning or a couple of days later, we had to get out of there. It was infested with bed bugs, and we had to be deloused.
Oh my God.
And we had to stand attention in the middle of the street, taking roll call. And funny thing happened, people were across the street wondering what's going on, And a woman comes towards me, or towards us, and she grabbed me and gave me a big hug and a kiss. And she walked away. I said, oh my God. And of course the guy, I said, oh boy, And it's crazy things like that you remember,
Oh, yeah.
And we were deloused, and we had to move out of there, that's for sure. We went to another hotel.
Do you remember the hotel?
I haven't written down here, I think.
No, that's okay if you don't remember. I just wanted offhand. You think it's still around today?
Hotel Breslin.
Breslin?
29th Street and Broadway, Hotel Breslin. And then we were moved, I think, to the 41st Street, Park Avenue, Murray Hill Hotel. And that was just, maybe a couple of blocks from Grand Central Station. And we stayed there until we were transferred out.
And about what time was that? What year were you transferred out of there?
I have it here, yeah.
And where did you go?
That was, here it is, September 15th to December 15th. That's the time that I spent in New York City.
Now, do you remember the outfit that you were with, or?
Well, they're all down here.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't remember them all because every time we changed, we had a different address and different numbers. But.
Now, how about when you left the States? Now, at a certain point, you left the States to go to
Europe.
To Europe.
Yeah.
And they were fighting at that time over in Europe. The war was going on in Europe.
Yeah.
And do you remember when you left to go to Europe?
Yeah, it's all the addresses were here.
About when? 40, 42, 43, 44?
I think it's 44.
44?
Yeah.
That's okay. That's we'll document them.
I mean, I'm taking up a lot of your time there without any dates. They're in here somewhere. I have them all on the side here. And
okay. And like I said, just for the record, we'll publish them with this, so it'll be part of the package. Now you left and your unit went over to
back to Fort Devens, and then we went to I believe it's Fort Lewis, Washington, and from Fort Lewis, Washington, we went to Fitzsimmons General Hospital outside of Denver, Colorado.
And what were you doing all this time? Training?
Training for medics.
Okay, and you were a medic.
Then we were assigned to medics. I think it was the 27th General Hospital.
And that's what you actually went into as a specialized as a medic?
They put us in to train for treating soldiers.
But meanwhile, you were doing all these other positions.
Before they didn't know where to put us.
Because I even see on your discharge you were a medic, but also you were a military
policeman and a mail sorter, and until they found a place where to go for us to go.
And you had a few jobs there.
Yeah.
But now from the state of Washington to Denver, you ended up leaving
on the East Coast, in New Jersey, at Camp Kilmer. I guess we shipped out. I think of Camp Kilmer's to. We departed from New York City for Europe.
And how long did it take you to get from over to Europe? About how many? A couple weeks?
I think I have it back here, but
that's all right.
Yeah, it was a.
That's all right, Roland.
Yeah, it's all in back here.
Sure.
I mean, I don't remember. It must have been 10 days. I'd say maybe around 8 or 10 days. And
where did you end up over there?
At Le Havre, France. And we stayed there in a staging area for, I don't know, a couple of weeks maybe. Then I think we were sent to Metz after that. And came VE Day. Then we shipped out to, well, they sent us to Marseille, France, and from there on to the Pacific.
So the war was over in Germany.
Germany,
so it was
in
over,
Europe.
In Europe it was over, but the Americans were still fighting.
Oh, there was still some action, but you know, it was, well, in the Philippines there was still fighting. And I remember when that ended, I don't know, we were in the area of the Hawaiian Islands. I guess we couldn't see them, but we're in the general area. And that's when VJ Day ended. But we had to keep going to the Philippines, and then.
So you couldn't celebrate. I mean, because
well, they celebrate. I saw more guys throwing their duffel bags overboard when they heard the news, the good news, and. But we had to keep going,
and so your unit. And where were you assigned? What was? Do you remember your unit at the time? No, don't have to refer back. But I mean, if you refer, well, if you know what.
Well, I think we were the 305th General. Then they changed it from the 27th General Hospital to the 305th. I don't remember exactly when, but it was in that general area. And
so you shipped over.
We went to the Philippines and.
Now, how'd you get over there from Germany? I mean,
well, we went from Marseille, past the Rock of Gibraltar, through the Panama Canal, and I know we stayed over one night in Balboa, and the next day we boarded ship again on our way to the Philippines, and then we from there we saw. Yeah. We went to Luzon, got a camp there, which is written in here, and we waited out for our orders, and finally they shipped us out to Japan.
So you were? Did you?
In Japan, we finally did treat some patients, our own men that were still wounded. And
what were you set up to be? Were you an infantry medic, or were you like more of like a MASH hospital?
Kind of behind the scenes, you know. They used to have these, like these, you know, when a guy gets wounded, you know, the ambulance pick him up, they take him to
the first aid station.
Yeah, and then they ship them to a general hospital if they're really wounded badly, and that's what we were in.
So you basically
general hospital.
You worked in a general hospital,
right.
Taking care of
our men.
Wounded men. Did you have to ever take care of anybody that was like Japanese or you know?
No, but the only foreign soldier that I saw was at Fitzsimmons General Hospital. He was pretty banged up. I guess I don't know if his legs were wounded because they were up. They were, you know, strapped up, and I couldn't see the wound, but he was pretty banged up. He had been wounded pretty badly. But that was about the only soldier that I saw, a foreign soldier.
Now, where did from that point? How long?
Did I stay in Japan?
Was this going on over in Japan?
Oh, about 3 months.
That you went there and before the war ended?
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
well, no, that was after the war. It was ended, but we were still getting wounded soldiers from around different islands in the area and treating them. And
so, I mean, the Americans already bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah. That was all. Yeah, that was. I went there after that.
Okay, so yeah. you were there after that.
After that, right.
Okay.
But we didn't see any Japanese people. There might have been some of them because it's pretty big. It was a pretty big hospital there.
Now, where were you when the United States dropped the bomb on Japan?
I was in Europe.
You were in Europe?
Yeah, we were in Europe, but we were getting ready to leave there for the Asiatic Pacific Theater. So.
And what did you where do you recall where you were at the time? What you were doing?
I don't. And I don't think I marked it down. I don't remember exactly. Sure. But we used to get the news kind of maybe a little late, but we got the news of what was going on.
So you were on ship. You were on a ship heading towards Japan at the time that the Japanese surrendered?
I'm not exactly sure. I can't pinpoint it to if I was still in France. I think I was still in France. Because I think I remember that, well, we're going to Japan. Well, they didn't tell us where we were going anyway. They never told us.
No.
But we knew we were going in the Asiatic Pacific Theater, but we didn't know exactly where. So.
But at some point, they came across and told you that the war had ended, that the Japanese surrendered?
Yeah, that was it. We were in the Pacific, like I say, in the area of the Hawaiian Islands. And
you must have been a little satisfied to some degree. They're relieved that the war is over. And,
yeah.
So you stayed over...
Manila, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Manila was completely destroyed when we went through there. And on our way to Luzon at our camp. And I never saw a city so destroyed as I saw there. And I did see the Bataan Death March where our soldiers were taken by the Japanese. And that was a mess too. That they showed us. That wasn't pretty. But
did you treat anybody?
That was after that. No, we didn't treat anybody there because there again we were waiting for assignment in Luzon. Finally, they said, "Well, okay, you got to go to Japan." So off we went to Japan.
So the Death March was already done, the Bataan Death March, and you just seen the area that it happened in. And
yeah, I saw a lot of those places where these soldiers went through hell, and the Japanese, they were ruthless. What?
Now, what was your opinion on the war in general, the World War?
I mean, as far as hatred or stuff like that? Well, no, I didn't. War is hell. And I'm sure a lot of those soldiers probably didn't like being in the war, like the American, you went, you did your duty, and I'm sure that this was the same way with the Japanese or the Germans, or you were in a war, it's you against me. And they probably didn't like it any better than we did. So.
You're trying to.
So anyway, I took it.
You're fighting for your country.
You're fighting for your country, and you can do your best.
Because you just want to live and get out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, during this period of time, over in France, over in Japan, were you communicating with your family back home? Did you have any communications as far as letters?
Mail, yeah. My mother used to write daily, and which was my girlfriend at the time, she wrote to me quite often, yeah.
And I don't know if I got your wife's name. Let's just put
Evelyn.
Evelyn, okay.
Yeah, she wrote to me often. In fact, she sent me a package of brownies, I think. They went to Europe, they went to the Philippines, they went to Japan, and I got them when I got back home.
Oh, they sent them back. How were they?
Needless to say, they were hard.
I always thought that counts, right?
Yeah.
She was thinking about you.
Yeah, I remember that. Because she was trying, did you get my cookies? I said, no. Then I'd write back. But I got them when I got home.
Oh, that's something, huh?
Yeah.
That's a story. Now, do you recall anybody on your unit that you kept friends with over the years? Was there anybody that you remember?
Yeah, well, I did for a while. In fact, I was in one of them fellow's wedding, and I think it was Field Mass. Huck, I forget his last name. But after a while, we got kind of, you get married, you have your family, and lose track of your friends. And although I did have another buddy from Waterbury that I was in his wedding too, after he got out, and he passed away a few years back. Him, we used to chum around quite a bit.
And he was in your unit? You guys went into the service together or no?
Yeah, we went together. And he was another close friend of mine that we were in the service with.
Now, going back to when the war was, when the United States bombed Japan, do you think they were justified in doing that?
Yes. I really, it's either them or us. And it's sad to say, the people that really got hurt are the civilians. I think more than the soldiers that were there. And President Truman, he said, yeah, look, it's either our men or theirs. And it's a terrible thing to say. All the people that got killed in Hiroshima, and I can imagine how devastating that must have been. But on the other hand, maybe they would have done it to us. So, I'd say yes, they were justified.
Now, what were the holidays like when you were serving? I mean, it's tough,
every day was.
It's tough being away from home.
Exactly. Well, you would think back, it felt kind of sad. You wish you were with them, and I'm sure they wish that we were with them.
No, from when you left Waterbury and seeing your parents for the last time, your family for the last time. I know your brother was in the military and serving and fighting in World War II. But once you left, how long was it before you seen him again?
Well, after being basic training in the 40th and Allen, we were given a furlough for a few days. And I came home for 3-4 days then. And actually, that's when I met my girlfriend then at a dance. And then I had to go back. And then after that, when I was stationed in New York City, we had weekends off. And from New York City to Waterbury was only a couple of hours train ride. So I'd come home for a couple of days and go back. As long as I was stationed in New York City, whatever time we had, we'd come back home for a couple of days. And but then once I got to Fort Lewis, then that's across country. So we did get a furlough for 10 days, I think it was. And I did come home then. And that might have been a year after I was in New York City, if I remember right. And I don't remember coming home from Colorado. After that, I think we went to New Jersey and got ready for overseas duty. So from then on, I didn't come home till the war was ended.
And now, when you came back from Japan, do you recall when that was approximately?
When I was a Sarge, when I left Japan, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the war was over. That was in February and.
44, 45.
Pardon?
44, 45?
That was 45, I think it was February, or the end of January. Anybody that had service of 30, I think it was 30, 35 months, they were eligible to go home. And I had met my 30 months. And they shipped us back home.
No, how did you come back? By ship?
By ship, yeah.
Did you recall the route, how you took, the way they came through? No, the way you came home, did you come through like California?
Oh yeah, well, we docked, from Japan we came to California, and there we took a train all the way back to Fort Devens. And from there I think, yeah, we had a taxi from Fort Devens to Worcester, Mass, where my brother-in-law and my girlfriend and a couple of my brother-in-laws came to pick me up there.
In Worcester?
In Worcester, yeah. Back home. Yeah, I remember that.
And were you discharged at that point? Or
oh, yeah, I was discharged.
From Devens?
We were, when we came to Fort Devens for our discharge, we stayed there maybe 3 or 4 days. Once you got your discharge paper, you were on your own. So that was a good idea. That was a happy day.
So and you got back home, you seen your parents?
Oh God, it was a big reception. I think they still had the Christmas tree up in the house.
Yeah, it must have been something, though, huh? That joyous occasion after being and fighting in two areas of war, in the Atlantic and the Pacific.
And the funny thing, I just remembered now when I was in France, and my brother, well, he went on ahead of me, maybe, I think it was maybe 6 or 8 months before me, and we used to write to each other, and I told him where I was, and he told me where he was, and he says he was being transferred, that he was going to go through Metz, and he said, maybe if I get a chance, I'll stop. And it so happened that when he came through Metz, and the commanding, the guy that was in charge of the unit, he says, yeah, I should stop. He's, you know, see your brother. We had just moved, we had been shipped out that morning.
Oh, so
that morning, we never saw each other.
And was your brother on the way back to the States?
Yeah, he was on his way. I don't know where he was going at the time, but he was on his way back home. I don't know where he left from or what, but it was another strange thing that.
So that was good.
Unfortunate.
I mean, even though you didn't see him, he was on his way home, even though you were.
Yeah, well, I was happy for him, you know. And,
plus, your parents, they wanted to see their boys, right?
Yeah, yeah. That was another occasion that it was unfortunate. We just didn't meet.
Roland, after you were discharged from the military, you returned back home. What did you take? Did you take any time off before you went to work, or?
I took a month off. I just unwound for a month before I returned to work at the formatic company.
And that was in Waterbury?
That was in Waterbury.
And how long did you stay there for?
Oh, maybe a couple of years. And then I went to dental technology school, but that didn't pan out. Things were tough in that area, so I ended up being a steel rule die maker for 30 years after that until I retired.
And where did you work at that point?
Acme Steel Rule Die in Waterville. Yeah.
But when you were going through these jobs, you had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And you married her.
Yeah. After we went out for a couple of years, and then I got out in 46, and we got married in 49. And then I started raising a family, and I said I went to dental technology school, but at the time I was married, and I had a child, and I probably could have gotten a job, but I couldn't afford the pay that we're going to pay. I couldn't afford live on the small pay that they were going to pay me with the wife.
Pay wasn't much back then.
No, not much.
And
maybe $40. So, and I probably would have had to move out of town, or state, and I just couldn't do that.
Was that a week, $40 a week, or?
Yeah.
And you were raising a family.
Yeah.
Now, how many children did you have?
I have four. Three boys and a girl.
And their names?
Raymond, Janice, Jimmy, and Bobby, Robert.
Okay. And they have families now?
Oh yeah, they all live in the area.
So you have grandchildren. Do you have any great grandchildren?
I have 9 grandchildren and 6 great grandchildren, and quite a crew.
So they live in the Waterbury, Southington area, Wolcott area? Or?
Bobby lives in Watertown, Janice lives here in Southington, Raymond lives in Wolcott, and Jimmy lives in Prospect. So they're all around.
So they're close by.
Yeah, and nephews and nieces, they're all pretty close around here, except one in at Ludlow, Mass. And yeah, they're all around.
Yeah. And right, when getting back to the military, I just want to touch back on that. Now, you went in as a private. What did you get out as? What was your rank when you got out?
Technician, 5th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
that's like a corporal. Yeah.
And maybe even a sergeant. I think you got 3 stripes there, don't you? I think you have. But anyways, it's you rose through the ranks.
Yeah.
You had a good experience in the military.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you regret it at all, having served your country?
No. Well, like I said, I was fortunate. I was following the war. Had I gone in a couple of maybe 3-4 months earlier, I probably would have been in the thick of things because the war wasn't over. But it just so happened that as we went along, that the VE Day came along when we were preparing to set up shop in Metz, France, and all of a sudden they told us, stop, pack up everything, we're heading to the Pacific. So
it was BJ Day.
It was like we're just chasing the war. BJ Day was the same. And we were in the Pacific Ocean when we heard about the BJ Day.
But Roland, you served honorably. You come from the greatest generation during World War II, and I understand why it's the greatest generation for what the men and women gave up, the families back home gave up. You know, trying to collect scrap metal and aid the war effort. Things that you really don't see today.
Yeah.
Back then, I understand why that was such a great deal, because you're a great generation, and I see what my family gave up. And then when I came along, I'm from the Vietnam era, and but it was a great honor to be able to sit here and talk with you today. Is there anything that you want to add or say? This is your tape. This is something that's going to be in the archives. I put you on the spot.
You're speaking of the greatest. Well, like I remember, my wife was she was my girlfriend then. Well, she was still in high school, but I used to put buttons on cards, military buttons for the service. I mean, things like that. She worked part-time after high school, and she did that for a while, And a lot of people did a lot of things like that for the war effort. And in those days, you didn't see too many working outside of the home, but they did a great job, the ladies and the men that were behind to help out the war effort.
It's different than today. I mean, the fathers worked, the mothers stayed home, took care of the children.
Yeah.
And
but during the war, the woman had to do it. They did it. They still raised the family, and they put their time in to help us, really.
Now, what do you think of the generations today? The way I mean, everything changes with each generation.
Oh, yeah, a lot of change.
This being, I guess, the Generation X, I guess they call it. But these kids, we had the Iraq War, we had the the Afghan war is still going on. We still got people in Iraq, and they're still fighting and dying in Afghanistan, and that must bother you a little bit.
It does. It's hard. It's hard when
because
the thing in Afghanistan and the thing in Iraq, you don't know who the enemy is. You don't know who you're shooting at. The people that come out and they come out with their bombs, they have bombs in their car and blow up anybody that gets in their way. So these soldiers that are in now, they have it tough because you don't know who your enemy is. At least in World War II or the Korean War or whatever, they knew there was a soldier out there. If they saw him with a uniform on, that's the enemy. But in Afghanistan and Iraq, who do you know? Who do you know who the enemy is? You can't, you're just hoping that, you know there's going to be bombs on the side of the road. You know the cars coming at you. You don't know if they have bombs in there. You don't know what's going to happen to you.
And just when you think that, I mean, the technology is great now, but it's still not keeping pace with with those that are finding ways to skirt around it, you know. And these young boys, not that World War II was any different. I mean, World War II, those guys that
at least we knew who the enemy was.
That lost their legs and arms.
Exactly.
And
thank God the technology is better in a way. In the medical service today, these young men that get shot in Afghanistan or Iraq, they're brought on, they go after them with helicopters, bring them to an aid station, and then they're shipped to Germany or wherever in Afghanistan. How do they? And luckily, they survive. They survive, and with good treatment that they're getting today, thank God that a lot of them are living. It's a shame that they're maimed, but at least they're surviving, hopefully.
Roland, let me just ask you one thing. Kids are going to be looking at this tape that is going to be in the archives down at the Library of Congress in the Central Connecticut State University, as well as the Southington Historical Society. And other people are going to probably be viewing it online, kids doing reports. It could be a year from now, it could be 10 years, 20 years from now, but they're going to be listening to you as a World War vet and listening to your story. Is there anything that you would like to say to them or add to this tape?
The only thing I could say is, when you go in the military and they train you and they discipline you, you get something out of that. Sometimes I wonder if it wouldn't be best if all the kids went in the service for a year to get some kind of discipline. Or today it's like a free-for-all out there. It's tough out there, and I know it's tough for the kids, but I think a lot of us came out better by being in the military and getting some discipline in you. It seems like today kids, they don't even listen to anybody. It's a shame to say, but it's so different from about 60, 70, 80 years ago than it is today.
Because, the kids growing up aren't really disciplined like they were back in the 30s, 40s,
It seems that
50s.
they get too much. There's too much out there. Today, all these electronic things, which are great, but today, kids don't play in playgrounds anymore. They don't go out in the fresh air and run and get their hands dirty and like we did when we were young.
Because a lot of things were settled not with guns like it is today. It was settled with sometimes a fist
you punch each other up a little bit, push each other around, and dust yourself up and get up, and you're still friends the next day.
But now they want to kill each other. Now they hate each other. They hate people that might look a little different.
Exactly. Today they bring guns to school. Look what happens.
And most recently, where they had that shooting where the individual bought a .22 for no reason. Just
I'm not saying that all the kids are like. There's a lot of great kids out there. There really are, and it's too bad they have to go through what they're going through, what they see, and it's a different generation.
And the generations are going to change, and hopefully
for the best.
Hopefully for the best, and hopefully they'll get a little something from viewing this. From you, Roland, that as a World War II veteran.
I'm not trying to be a mentor. I see things different, and everybody sees things different.
But I like to put a little something in there for the future, and for those that are listening. Like you said, war is hell, and you don't want to come
whatever
home.
War is.
You want to come home to. Veterans want to come home and live a good life and be peaceful and loving and caring, and hopefully that can change in the future where we can all get along and love each other. And Roland, I want to thank you very much for allowing me to interview you.
Well, it's a pleasure. I hope I didn't bore you with.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And it's a pleasure.
Okay, and thank you very much for your service.
I hope it helps somebody or things, or
I know it will.
See things different.
I know it will, and I thank you very much for being part of the Veterans History Project. And this is John DeMello with the Southington Historical Society. It's approximately 4:02 p.m. on March 5th, 2012.